little monsters. This could be interesting. I mean, we usually get big monsters, and they can be big and frightening, but little ones could do too. Um, or we can get something totally different. Let's see. Let's see what we're talking about here, starting with the IMDb plot. A washed up musician teams up with a teacher and a kids show personality to protect young children from a sudden outbreak of zombies. Ooh, zombies, all right. Zombie movie. All right, so yeah, Little Monsters. If you're following along, this is obviously been out for several years now. Um, and while I tend to do a ton of reviews of stuff that's within usually this year or recent, I just happened to catch this the other day. It's just one that I missed along the way, and I had kind of wanted to see it, heard good things about it, and just never did. And I was just kind of scrolling around and realized it was on Hulu, and got a chance to check it out. So I figured, okay, I don't, little backwards here, but why not? Let's do a review for it. Not hurting to go back a little bit and do a review. Anyway, if you guys remember, this one kind of I'm not gonna try to butcher her name, but stars the woman who did a really good, she's a really great actress. She was in, I guess, A Quiet Place, the most recent one, and Black Panther, Us. So she was really good. Obviously a draw for watching this movie. And she plays the teacher in this movie, and I think probably one of the only faces you may recognize in this movie. Anyway, yeah, this is, I should say, a horror comedy, so it is very much that. And I will say it is very much comedy through a lot of the movie. Obviously, there's zombies in it, so that kind of occupies the horror in the movie. But I'd say it is definitely greatly a comedy. It is also going to go a decent clip before you even get introduced to a zombie or think that this movie has anything to do with zombies. And why is that? Well, it basically starts off, being a comedy. You kind of see a couple as the movie opens, and they're basically arguing about everything. You see them go different places, and they're arguing left and right about everything and anything. And that's the guy in this situation is the musician that's mentioned there. And on and on and on. There, just the whole beginning of the film, as the opening credits are going, is just them arguing. So he eventually ends up having to stay with his sister because his relationship is just obviously in a bad place, and his sister has a young son. I don't know exactly what grade, but young enough, probably maybe first, second, somewhere in there. Really funny young man, and I think you'll draw to really like him as the movie goes on. He's obviously not a parent, so he's definitely very unfiltered around her son, and this is obviously going to annoy the sister. So we get some of that early on as well. I don't want to go through every scene, but yeah, let's just say it gets even worse between him and his girlfriend, and he's going to end up being with his sister for a while. And part of that, she tells him that she has to help with the boy, so he ends up taking him to school one day, and of course meets the teacher, and her name is Caroline, and obviously he sees her, and he's just like, oh, I like her now. So he's all in for anything he can do to help her, help the class, and whatever. And eventually ends up going on a field trip with the kids to this, I guess, play area kind of place. They have like mini golf, they have petting zoo, just, kind of a general kind of area like that. A mix of a few things, but for kids to go see. One of the people that are there are this big, think of him as like Mr. Rogers or I don't know, like, character from Sesame Street, whatever, some guy that's there that all the kids love, that he's on TV and so forth. And, he's there, so the kids get to meet him as well, and all the kids are excited about that. I would say, as you're kind of watching early on in these things, you might just be laughing at the things, but they do place a few things here or there that are tells of things to come later. So, I will say that I actually watched this movie twice. And I watched it once by myself, and then I enjoyed it. So I was like, I think my wife, I don't try to suck her into too many horror movies, but I'm like, no, I think I can get her to watch this, and I did, and she enjoyed it as well. So as I watched it the second time, like, oh, okay, they place, these small things here or there that kind of play a role in some of the stuff that happens later. You might notice them as the movie goes on, but obviously they're much more clear the second time around. So, yeah, they end up in this place, and they introduce them. Everything is fine and good and whatever. Then finally, we get this, random all of a sudden cutaway to, I guess, a nearby facility where they're doing testing or whatever and so forth. And apparently it's gone wrong. There's a zombie there. They try to get it, and it bites somebody, then bites somebody, and then, there's all these zombies. Then basically half the people there become zombies, and they escape the facility, and of course are headed right towards this area where the kids are enjoying whatever. And it's, not only that group of kids, there's other kids there and so forth, whatever. And, they're there, they're having a good time, whatever. He's, trying to do everything he can because he likes Miss Caroline and so forth. But then all of a sudden, unexpectedly, they find themselves in a mini zombie apocalypse situation. Granted, these are just very slow moving, walking zombies, so, that allows them some leeway. So, in turn, the two of them basically try to obviously save the kids and lure the kids around this area and kind of, do their best to tell the kids that, hey, this is not real, it's just a game, everything's fake, and whatever, as they try to survive what is going on here. And I kind of guess I'll leave it at that. But like I said, it is very funny movie. Definitely from, the opening for quite a while, like I said, there's really going to be no horror. And I know that sometimes I complain about that. But I guess, you just have to let it go because I don't know. You just do. I guess once you see that there's kids involved, I guess you kind of lower your expectations of the horror in it. But it does, have its moments. When there are zombies, there's going to be some decent moments of blood, and I don't think any overwhelmingly zombie kills, but you're going to see some different zombie kills and so forth. Or not different, but there are plenty of zombie kills to be done. You are going to see people get bitten and that kind of thing. So they do kind of give that to you. I mean, you're going to have to wait and be patient, but it's going to get there. I was just looking down, I noticed it's rated R, so I guess, some of that blood and guts is okay, but it is also, even though there are kids involved, and there is a lot of foul-mouthed adult comedy in it as well. So I guess that's part of it. One of the, like I said, in a weird way, you see me and I'm always on here talking about blood and guts and whatever, blah, blah. And, I usually don't get too drawn in when there's kids in the movie, but, the kids here were really great. The little boy is fabulous. And if you're a Star Wars fan, you're really going to like him. He dresses up, in this Darth Vader costume and is just really funny, when he does so. So if you're a Star Wars fan, obviously I'm a Star Wars fan, so I was very amused by that part, and probably another reason why I liked the movie, and was just, it was like, all right. So yeah, he's really good. There's also a little girl that I think kind of likes him. She's really good, and there's several little kids that each kind of had their part. But definitely a great cast of kids. Some, obviously don't have, the little boys obviously has a big part, but there's others that, just have pop up here or there. But they're all really good and have really good parts in it. But yeah, I would say, the movie's just generally really funny. I mean, not even talking about the horror part. If you're just kind of looking for a comedy, maybe you can stomach the zombie part of it. I mean, this movie might be for you as well. Um, there's also something going on with the personality, who's there. I don't want to say too much. I know the movie's been out for a while, but just in case you haven't seen it, I'm not gonna give away too much what goes on there, but that ends up pretty crazy and wild as it is. And a huge part of the comedy, I guess, in the back half of the movie. But obviously, I think it was Dave. Dave is the musician. He's just funny in himself, and, it's kind of him trying to find his place and in life and so forth, in his struggle, and kind of moving on from his girlfriend. He likes Miss Caroline now, and just kind of being in this situation. Obviously, I guess he's had a hard time with life. Life's not always easy for him, but he has to figure it out here in this huge moment here where there's zombies everywhere. But yeah, I would say, it is just a really good, fun combination of horror and comedy, largely comedy. But I can just say that I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. Just really, really great stuff. I thought it's, also funny. They play an angle where I think it's an Australian movie. I believe so. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it was in Austria. I guess that's where it was from. Yeah, there we go. Oh, it also includes the United States, whatever. But it's obviously that. I'm pretty sure it was over there, and they obviously blame the Americans for the zombies. So I thought that was a funny thing, of course, as well. Just a side humor there, but there's a couple of references to that, and it's also kind of funny how the soldiers eventually end up wanting to deal with the zombies as well. So they do some weird stuff there at the end with them as too, but. Anyway, whatever. Regardless of anything, if you're in the mood for a horror comedy that you haven't seen, and you have Hulu, or you're going to get access to it, and you haven't seen this one, definitely watch it. It's a really funny movie. Again, maybe if you're looking for maybe a little bit more comedy than horror, but still, I really, really enjoyed this movie from beginning to end. Like I said, it's funny right off the bat, and just goes right on through. So with that, I'm giving it 4 pools of blood. I was thoroughly enjoyed it, and had a good time with it. So much so that I watched it twice, which is a rarity. And so yeah, there it is. Kind of throwing it back. You knew that if I'm bringing it up from several years ago, either there was something I was really mad at and had to complain about, or I really liked it. So there it is. So with that, 4 pools of blood out of 5 for this one. So horrorscorereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews written in video, certainly mostly video reviews for a while now, so you can like and subscribe and do everything else that everybody wants to do here on YouTube. If not, no worries, it is okay. I thank you for your time regardless, especially with an older older movie, I should say. Twitter, Facebook, information down below as well, so you can reach out to me there. Maybe bring back this movie and you're like, oh yeah, I saw that movie, and you want to talk about it. Other movies, horror, of course, something you want me to review. Definitely in the comment section, if you enjoyed the movie, please feel free to comment on it there as well. So with that, I'll catch you in the next review, horror fan.